Continuing from the previous episode 50. Xiao Yan. Wu Huan said viciously towards Xiao Yan, who didn't know what strange method to use to break the formation. Xiao Yan also wondered why the formation did not attack others but attacked himself, but when he first came into contact with the fire dragon, he felt that the fire dragon seemed to be very afraid of Xiao Yi. Then, following Xiao Yi's footsteps, he led Yueru through the formation. With Xiao Yi leading the way, the flame power and the demon lotus in the formation obediently gave way, and this was the scene. The hall is very wide, and people stand in it, like ants. In the center of the hall, there are 7 huge light groups. The light groups are suspended in the air. A scroll-like thing exists. Immortal fighting skills and exercises. Just relying on the terrifying fluctuations emanating from the light group is known. His eyes swept through these light groups that exuded a strange coercion. Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly stopped at the center of the 7 light groups. There was a stone seat and a stone coffin. The stone coffin was calm and peaceful. It's inconspicuous, but on the stone seat on the side, there is a gray-white skeleton, hand-pinched, sitting cross-legged. The bones of the emperor. Looking at the skeleton, Xiao Yan's mouth suddenly felt a little dry. This was the first time he had seen the skeleton of a strong Dou emperor since Dou D continent. The coercion at the place was like a jack, causing Xiao Yan and the others to feel a sense of depression. This is the main hall of the ruins. Yueru whispered. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, his eyes shifted away from the light group and the skeleton, and looked behind him, at the exit of the formation, where there were already quite a few figures standing, and all of them had a strong aura, and among them, Xiao Yan also saw Feng Yi, Wu Huan and others again. Hey, it came quite quickly. Seeing these figures, Xiao Yan couldn't help but sneered across his face. Because he also learned from the well-informed master, the Golden Dragon King, that the formation before the main hall could not stop them for a long time. For some reason, the formation seemed to lack the core things. Inside the vast hall, the figures are scattered, except for a few loners. Most of the rest are those big forces with strong reputations in the 5 major cities, except for the powerful Wu Huan in Wucheng and Feng Yiji in Fenglei City. In addition, the Living Dead City, Magnolia City, Beast City and other forces all came here. It seems that their goals are quite clear. Once they broke the formation, they rushed here directly, for fear that they would be a step late. People take away. And when Wu Huan and the others entered the hall, Xiao Yan, who was carrying a heavy ruler, naturally attracted the attention of many of them. The next step was to be alert, or hostile, or friendly to Xiao Yan. Projected over. To these glances, Xiao Yan smiled and glanced at the direction where Wu Huan and the others were, only to see the latter and the others staring at him gloomily, presumably still remembering what they had eaten in that formation. A big loss. Xiao Yan also had a sneer on the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth when he saw this scene, under the gazes of those many eyes. He walked slowly into the hall with Yueru, and then stopped in the hall. Walking into the main hall, Xiao Yan just discovered that there were 7 figures sitting around the towering stone seat. How many years have been preserved, but even so, these 7 stone sculpture-like figures exude a terrifying aura, making everyone dare not set foot in the 10-foot range around the stone steps. Protector? Seeing these stone-like figures without the slightest anger, Yueru also whispered in surprise. Well, and I'm afraid they are quite powerful guardians. You can feel it just from the stone carvings. If I expected it to be good, these 7 stone carvings should all have the strength of Dou Di. Since this is the place where the emperor lost, these people should be the guardians of the emperor. Xiao Yan's eyes also flashed a dignified color. Although these stone carvings are motionless at the moment, they have just not been triggered. It is conceivable that once these stone carvings are activated or awakened, it will inevitably be a fierce and unusually brutal fight. Moreover, these stone carvings can guard the main hall. These people must have been strong men before their lives. Maybe they are the emperor's subordinates. We should be careful. Xiao Yan also noticed a slight difference with his bright eyes. Hearing that, Yueru has changed slightly. Although the 7 Dou D level powerhouses do not know the clear strength of stone carvings, since they can follow the emperor, how can they be mediocre? This lineup, even if the powerhouses present work together to clean it up, the loss will certainly not be small. As expected of the relics of the emperor and the strong. If this is a fight. Yueru was also amazed, and even she felt a little shudder with such a lineup. Be careful later. Don't separate. Xiao Yan reminded solemnly, then turned his head. A smile quickly appeared on his face, and cupped his hands in a certain direction. Xiao Yan looked along. It turned out to be Qing, a member of the Alchemist Association of Chunga. Hee, little friend Xiao Yan, it's better to come early than coincidence. This is the main hall. You can see that the gray-white dividing line is getting weaker and weaker. I'm afraid it will completely dissipate in the near future. See, when he arrived at Xiao Yan, Bai Shan also smiled, leading the strong pharmacist to come link to www.novelmtl.com, and smiled at Xiao Yan. Elder Bai Shan, could this be the goal of this trip? How come there are as many as 7? Xiao Yan smiled and asked. This Bai Shan is also an elder of the Alchemist Association. Those present, I'm afraid he has a better relationship with the Alchemist Association. In any case, he is also a nominal elder of the Alchemist Association. The others are either unfamiliar or opponents. Well, it should be true, but I think the 7 light groups should be related to the 7 stone sculptures in front of me. Although I don't know what it has to do with it, who can get it depends on luck and strength. Bai Shan smiled and nodded, and said that he was quite satisfied with Xiao Yan. To be able to break into the hall deep in the ruins with 2 people, Bai Shan himself, who is not at all extraordinary, would definitely not believe it. No wonder the president told Xiao Yan to take care of him before he left. Well, I think so too. Hearing this, Xiao Yan also stared at the 7 stone sculptures carefully, and then swept over the 7 light groups with a strange gaze. There are indeed many flower heads in the ruins of the emperor. In the end, it was not easy to get even one of these 7 light groups. Well, Bai Shan smiled, his eyes swept around the hall, and he said softly, little friend Xiao Yan, it seems that there are quite a few people targeting you this time. It's just a little trouble. Xiao Yan smiled. Those present, who were hostile to him, were just Wu Huan. Although he didn't know why Wu Huan was hostile to him, even if this Wu Huan was a 3-star in the later stage of Emperor Do, Xiao Yan was also not afraid, and Feng Yi, Feng Lei Cheng should not be regarded as hostile. At most there was a hint of discussion. And then there was the living dead who stole Yueru Crescent Quiguo, although it was fake Crescent Moon Quiguo, but he couldn't let him go. Continuing from the previous episode 51. Xiao Yan whispered to Yueru, after the gray and white dividing line is untied, don't rush to take action. Although these things are priceless treasures, they are all hot potatoes. If you get it first, it will be a disaster. Yueru nodded slightly. She also understood that as soon as those treasures got into their hands, they would immediately become the target of public criticism. There were many powerful people in the hall, and one person came over with one palm. Hematemesis collapsed. This Xiao Yan is not only weak in cultivation talent, but also has amazing accomplishments in medicine refining. The most important thing is that although he is young, he does not have the arrogance of young people. His future achievements will definitely be extraordinary. He is attached to our Alchemist Association, and I have to say that this is really a correct decision by the president. Help if you can. If this big chance falls on this kid Xiao Yan, it's not bad. No wonder the president will remind him to take care of this kid. Even I can feel some unusual aura from this kid. It's really not that simple. Seeing that Xiao Yan was not impulsive under the temptation of the baby, Bai Shan also nodded. The weight of Xiao Yan in his heart increased a lot. Naturally, Xiao Yan didn't know that his performance made Bai Shan give him a lot of points. At this moment, he was staring at the light clusters floating in the air of the main hall. The eyes of the people around them all reflected the light of the light group. Wu Huan also stared at the 7 beams of light in front of him, and his eyes were rolling quickly, not knowing what to think. The group of people, mainly Feng Yi, frowned and looked at the 7 light groups. The 7 light groups, there are nearly 500 people in this hall alone. It can be said that the wolf has more meat and less meat. The seal is about to disappear. Xiao Yan's face was solemn, and suddenly he heard his master, the Golden Dragon King, whisper. Master, you said this is. Don't ask me. I don't know too much about the ruins of these powerhouses. Let's take a step by step. The Golden Dragon King also saw Xiao Yan's worry. The gray-white dividing line has disappeared. I don't know who said it, and then many people in the hall in front of them all came out with a strong greed in their eyes. The gray-white dividing line in front of him slowly disappeared, and then a wall of fighting chi that was as transparent as glass also shattered with a bang. Just before the voice fell, someone in a hurry rushed away at one of the 7 light groups that were close at hand. Looking at it, it was obvious that they wanted to get it first. And as the figure approached, the 7 light groups suddenly trembled violently, and then burst out with a strong light that was even more dazzling than before, and in this strong light, the looming scrolls inside were also at this moment turned into an ancient scroll visible to the naked eye. Above the scroll, a quaint aura slowly emanated from the midair of the hall. Chi! The light group emitted a stronger light, and 7 streamers of different colors swept out from it, and then slowly stopped in front of the 7 figures. Through the luster, everyone's eyes could faintly see the scrolls. An ancient aura emanated from these scrolls, causing the eyes of many strong people to turn blood red at this moment, and their breathing was also suddenly aggravated. The immortal rank fighting skill was born. The luster surged, and after the silence in the hall lasted for a short blink of an eye, a scream suddenly resounded, and then only the sound of bang bang resounded, and a strong and dense battle erupted from the hall. Standing up, one after another silhouette was like a locust, desperately swept away at the scrolls that turned into streamers. The entire hall was instantly boiling. The attraction of immortal rank fighting skills is obviously a fatal attraction. The dark figure quickly attacked the light group that exuded strong fluctuations, and a flash appeared in one of the 7 light groups. Ha ha ha! The immortal level fighting skills are mine. The dark man also looked up to the sky and said with a long smile, as if he had seen the immortal level fighting skills within his reach beckoning to him. Sex is a treasure, and if you can get a roll of immortal level fighting skills, you may be able to soar. Getting ahead is just around the corner. The dark figure could no longer restrain the smile on his face, and then he reached out to the group of light less than a foot in front of him. Although everyone outside the main hall was instantly boiling, but no one moved. Instead, they looked carefully at the dark man who stretched out his hand to grab the light ball. They are also clear that no matter whether this person is successful or not, he will come to this hall. Someone must always be the pioneer. If he succeeds, he will get a roll of immortal level fighting skills, although there may be others robbed later. Possibly, if it fails. Bang bang bang, the dark man just came into contact with the light group and was instantly swallowed up. Rather than being swallowed by the light group, when the dark man came into contact with the light group that contained immortal level fighting skills, it instantly turned into a ray of light like broken glass. You must know that this swarthy figure is also a powerhouse in the early days of the 3-star Do-D. When facing this mysterious scroll of light, he would actually so vulnerable, because it is not only the body that is broken, even the soul is broken instantly, and there is no time to escape. I can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. This dark figure is the best end. Then, from the light group, sharp sound waves spread out in the huge main hall. It caused many strong people to change their expressions slightly, and they could feel the unusually powerful strength of this voice. Just when everyone was in shock, the sound of breaking wind suddenly sounded in the hall, and immediately white mist poured from the hall, and finally gathered in the middle of the hall, and the white dissipated, and there seemed to be 7 figures in the light shown next to the group. At this moment, everyone raised their heads, not wanting to look at the clean black shadow that linked to disappeared www.novelmtl.com because the 7 stone sculptures that were originally in the hall have disappeared. Damn, the Guardian actually woke up? Seeing the 7 stone carvings that disappeared in the picture, many people jumped in their hearts and frowned. The strength of the 7 stone carvings is well known to everyone present. If they wake up, they will give the 7 light groups that were originally rare. The asterisk of fighting skills adds more intensity. Xiao Yan stared at the midair, and his face was also looking calmly. The 7 figures were at the front. One was dressed in gray and white clothes, and the other 6 figures were standing on either side of the white figure. The 7 stone sculptures under the skeleton seat originally had something like a rock covering their body, but at this time, if you look closely, there is no such thing as a stone sculpture. Their 7 stone sculptures are now the same as normal people. Moreover, Xiao Yan felt the terrifying strength that was not inferior to martial arts from the 6 powerhouses lined up in the white figures. The aura on the white figure in the center was restrained, as if a person who had never possessed a grudge, but Xiao Yan knew that the most powerful person was definitely this white figure. Above the main hall, the white mist slowly disappeared, and the 7 stone carvings revealed their true colors. The originally quiet and tense hall At this moment, it was like being thrown into a very heavy bomb. Almost in an instant, it caused the main hall to boil like a frying pan. At the same time, the 7 rays of light on the scroll slowly turned into a ball of light and injected into the 7 guardians. It was also at this moment that the 7 figures suddenly opened their eyes that had been closed for countless years. Killing, at this moment, spreads out. The Temple Breaker. Kill without mercy. Continuing from the previous episode 52. Boom boom boom. Everyone just saw the terrifying sound waves converging into a terrifying fighting spirit that emerged from the 6 people next to the white figure, attacking the many strong men in the hall. The fighting spirits from all directions slashed viciously towards the people who broke into the hall, bringing up 100 meters of light, and the gravel in the air could not help being shaken by this powerful force. The terrifying power contained in it, even the powerhouses at the peak of the Samsung Do Emperor would not dare to resist alone. Seeing this terrifying scene, many experts in the hall hurriedly took action. They are also clear that since they have entered the final hall, only if the 7 guardians in front of them are solved first, then the immortal level fighting skills and the more precious creation will have a chance to compete. Otherwise all the competition before that, it's all just nonsense. The crowd exudes domineering fighting chi that is colorful, and the fighting chi soaring to the sky gathers into a huge wall of light standing in front of everyone, trying to resist the terrifying fighting chi attacking from the hall. Bang bang bang. The terrifying sonic Do Chi viciously hit the wall of light that gathered everyone's huge Do Chi, and the 2 forces were stalemate, as if there were bursts of harsh sounds. Fire killing palm. Break it for me. Wu Huan also looked at the 2 beams of light that were stalemate, and couldn't help frowning and shouting. Immediately, he stimulated his whole body with fighting chi, and the amazing aura also burst out at this moment. This martial arts is also clear. As long as someone intervenes in this stalemate beam of light, it will definitely shatter. The wall of light formed by the terrifying sonic attack and the huge fighting spirit shattered instantly. Everyone also knows that now, just like in the formation, everyone is a grasshopper on a rope. Only by defending against these 7 guardians can they have a chance to think about other things. Seeing the crisis contact of this sonic attack, everyone in the hall slowly raised their heads and looked towards the 7 figures above the hall. Above the main hall, 7 figures stood in a row. At the top of the main hall is a bone-like skeleton in a seemingly ordinary coffin. Looking down the hall, on the stone steps under the throne of skeletons, there is a figure in white clothes. If you look closely, the man in white clothes looks like a middle-aged person. He can't feel a trace of fighting spirit all over his body. The presence. Wearing white clothes, his back turned to Xiao Yan in the hall, and then he slowly raised his head and looked at the place on the throne that had long since become a skeleton, his eyes full of deep admiration. Dressed on the stone steps under the white clothes, 6 burly figures stand under the white clothes, showing a figure 8 shape. The strange thing is that these 6 people are facing Xiao Yan and they are standing fixedly, as if waiting for the general. Just like the soldiers who ordered it, there was a killing intent in his eyes. The eyes of the people in the hall also widened at this moment. Because, the people in front of you are completely different from the stone sculpture just now. And now they are no different from ordinary people. Damn. Seeing this, Wu Huan couldn't help but scolded secretly. He finally practiced for many years, and now his strength is small and achieved. Wu Huan, who originally planned to show his strength in this ruins, also has a feeling that a clever woman can't cook without rice. Even with the powerful strength of the Wuan Sengxing Do Di in the late stage, Dang Dang felt powerless in the face of any of those 6 people, not to mention the mysterious powerhouse in white. But Wu Huan didn't have the slightest sign of flinching, staring viciously on the stone steps. Damn. Feng Yi also squeezed her crystal-like jade hands, and the colorful dress behind her also added a few different colors at this moment. Damn it. The information is wrong. The living undead who exuded a strong sense of death all over also looked at the huge lineup on the stone steps in front of him and couldn't help feeling a little uneasy in his heart. Even if all the people in the main hall do their best, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult to deal with these 6 people, not to mention that mysterious white-clothed one. This is just right to temper my sword. A young man in a gray robe had a black cloth wrapped around his eyes, which invisibly exuded an astonishing and frightening aura, but this couldn't hide the thick fiery in the eyes of the gray-robed man. Before the gray-robed man could finish speaking, One hand slowly touched the black sword behind him, and the other hand slowly touched the black cloth on his forehead and eyes. This appearance is obviously a place where you can really hone your sword, so how could the man in gray robe back down? Hee, Xiaohan, are you scared? On the tender shoulders of a delicate girl, an ice-blue bird was looking at the terrifying people on the stone steps, but the bird just heard the words of the delicate girl, and an astonishing chill emanated from the bird, as if to signal to the girl that she is not afraid at all. This is the real ruins. Ha ha ha. A figure stood still. His body was burly, like an iron tower. His eyes were also swept away with a fierce look at the 6 paths above the stone steps. The blood in his body was boiling a lot, and his eyes were also full of thick of war. It's much more interesting now. A long black dress highlighted the woman's slender and graceful figure. UU reading link to www.youcanshu.com was slender and plump, and the curve alone was enough to attract the attention of the hall. Wucheng Wawan, the late Samsung Do Di. Fenglecheng Fenji, the middle stage of Samsung Do Di. The Ginseng Market of the Living Dead in Yanwang City, the late Samsung Do Di. Sword King City King Bell, the middle stage of the 3-star Do Di. The Demon of the Snowy Family, the late Samsung Do Di. Lu Yin, City of 10,000 Beasts, the middle stage of the 3-star Do Di. Berserker Sun Ming, late Samsung Do Di. Gathering all the heavens favored people near Qingcheng, they expressed their attitude at this moment. Yueru, you will follow me when the war begins. There are many dangers in this ruin, but it will not be as simple as this simple guardian. Xiao Yan looked at the strength of the 7 people in front of him, and also felt that these 7 people he was indeed worthy of being the proud son of heaven, but Xiao Yan didn't mean to be afraid at all. Yeah, Yueru also gently agreed, and then her slender jade hand stroked her forehead, as if something was ready to go. The other people in the hall also looked at each other in dismay. One looked at the other and stood out in front of the 7 people. They were obviously thinking about something. In that case, let's fight. The remaining Alchemist Association and some sects in the hall shouted after thinking. Obviously, after a short period of thinking and weighing, the rest of the people who did not express their opinions are also clear that since they have all come to the treasure, how can they return empty-handed? They all know that as long as they can defeat these guardians, they will naturally get the immortal rank fighting skill. The 7 favored sons of heaven near Qingcheng were already familiar with each other. After a brief glance at each other, Wu Huan took the lead and shouted. In that case, let's fight, continuing from the previous episode 53. The crowd in the hall suddenly burst into a monstrous atmosphere, approaching the 6 figures above the stone steps. The opportunity has been given to you, but you don't cherish it yourself. In that case, then die. Even in the face of the monstrous weather that erupted from the many powerhouses under the main hall, the white-robed eyes remained unmoved. He still stared at the skeleton on the throne as always, and said calmly, as if he was telling a story. An ordinary thing. Everyone was stunned when they heard it. The 6 figures in front of them didn't move just to give them a chance to exit the hall, but they gave up. But everyone was not discouraged at all. Opportunities and dangers coexist. Everyone present knows this. Next, there is the real battle. But the 6 guardians in front of them, the strength of the peak of the 3-star Do Di cannot be easily defeated. Everyone, since everyone has entered this hall, the immortal level fighting skills and treasures are in front of you. If you have any braids in your heart, you should put them away. Everything is about defeating these guardians. And I believe that you have also felt their strength. The strength of the peak of the Samsung Duty is unmatched by anyone present. Wu Huan also saw many strong men in the hall, saying that if the current situation is hidden, it is very likely that he will die at the hands of the guardians. These 6 guardians are the peak strength of the 3-star Do Emperor, and they still haven't regained their strength. Once they regain their strength, if the 4-star Do Emperor is stronger, not one of the people present will be able to escape. As soon as the voice of the man dressed in white fell, the 6 burly figures under him also roared away at the crowd in the hall. Btth2, a moment has appeared in front of everyone. Kill. These guardians have just woken up and haven't regained their peak strength. This is our great opportunity. Feng Yi has also been using his soul power to perceive since just now, and only then did he know this. The real strength of the 6 guardians in front of them should be more than the peak of the Samsung Do Di. No wonder it makes people feel a little weak, so it is. Many powerhouses in the hall were relieved when they heard what Feng Yi said. Just as the people in front of them were talking, the figures of the 6 guardians spread out, clenched their fists, and attacked the 7 heroes of heaven in the hall. There was a terrifying strong wind on the dry fist, and the 7 heroes in front of the field saw this, and hurriedly defended with luck all over their body. Spread apart. The 2 of us deal with the guardian. First defeat the one who is going to support the others, and leave the rest to the other strong men in the hall. Wu Huan also said slowly. After the short-term relief just now, he also knew that even if they were fighting alone, even the heavens chosen of their 7 major cities would not be able to deal with the guardian. The strength of the peak of the 3-star Do Di was still so tyrannical. So there is a roar of martial arts. No, I can deal with one alone, and I also really want to test the strength of this guardian. A gray-robed humane said, with a strong desire in his voice, like a thirsty person in the desert who suddenly saw water generally. That's what it means. A burly figure also laughed, seeing the powerful aura slowly emitting from his body, which is strange to say. That aura is not emanating from fighting chi, but from which burly muscles spread out. There was no lack of discerning people present to see that one of these 2 people was Wang Zhang, the proud son of the Sword King city, and the other was Sun Ming, a berserker who was blessed by nature. Both of them had such capital. Wang Zhang fights against a guardian. Sun Ming fights against a guardian. Shenshu and Wowan face off against a guardian. Feng Yi and Yamei battle a guardian. Lu Yin and Xiao Yan, Yueru fights against a guardian. The strong men in other halls deal with the last guardian. Xiao Yan was also helpless. Originally, he wanted to fish in troubled waters, but unexpectedly, he was caught by these heavenly people. Now they are grasshoppers on a rope, and this kind of thing cannot be avoided. Yueru followed Xiao Yan and the others to fight against a guardian. Although Xiao Yan and the others have 3 strong men to deal with a guardian, it seems that Lu Yin is in the middle stage of the 3-star Do Emperor, Yueru is also in the middle of the 3-star Do Emperor, and Xiao Yan himself is only the peak of the early Samsung Do Emperor, although he is far from the 3-star Do Emperor. Midterm is just 1 step away. Boom boom boom. With the clear division of labor among the many powerhouses in the hall, in the originally quiet venue, with a bang, thousands of different colors of grudge erupted suddenly, dazzling, followed by muffled sounds. It was reported that the figures in the field flashed rapidly. All of them were quickly surrounded by their target guardians in the main hall. Inside the main hall, looking at the scene where the battle broke out almost from the very beginning, one after another fierce fighting spirit training can be seen everywhere. After the division of labor was clarified, everyone dispersed and attacked the guardians. Behind Xiao Yan, the ancient ruler of eternal fire Heng pointed slightly obliquely. A green-haired girl and Xiaohan with an ice-blue hair slowly exuding a terrifying cold aura were also standing beside Xiao Yan and them. Although it was unclear why Xiao Yan could make someone as strong as Wu Huan care about them, Lu Yin was not sure why. However, I clearly remember that Xiao Yan has a small beast whose strength is comparable to that of a 3-star Do Di, and his strength and bloodline are stronger than even Xiaohan who has some Bingfeng bloodline. And Lu Yin also doesn't know why Yueru in Qingcheng, a mere 3-star Do Di in the midterm, can also be ranked in the favor of heaven like herself. But now is not the time to think about link to itwww.novelmtl.com. The top priority is to get rid of the Guardian, and other things will wait until it is over. Then Lu Yin also stared at the Guardian in front of her, and then looked at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan and Yueru were standing on the edge of the hall, and they were also facing Lu Yin's Guardian. Yuru's body exuded cyan fighting energy, and something slowly glowed on her forehead. Xiao Yan's whole body exudes red Do Qi, and then a milky white flame is attached to Do Qi, which looks very terrifying. 2 powerful breaths slowly wrapped the 2 of them, and 2 extremely powerful breaths permeated out of their bodies. At this time, the 2 of them did not break into the chaotic field in the main hall. They know that this extremely chaotic atmosphere will not last long. As long as the people present defeat a Guardian, and they each unite their people, the chaos in the field will gradually fall into a situation where several strong coexist. Under the restraint at that time, the chaos will weaken a lot. Once they free up their hands, then these Guardians will. Then it's time for them to really fight. However, there is another possibility that if the Guardians defeat even any of their teams, their situation will become even more unfavorable. Everyone present knew that a guardian of the peak of the 3-star Do-D was enough to change the situation on the entire battlefield. What should we do now? The green-haired girl bit Bei's lips lightly and said, she felt a strong killing intent from the guardian in front of her. What else can I do? Let's fight. Xiao Yan also shrugged helplessly, and attacked the guardian in front of him first. Continuing from the previous episode 54. Taking a look at the surrounding battles, Wu Huan and the others who were walking faster and faster, Xiao Yan let out a slow sigh of relief. It seemed that they had the upper hand in dealing with them. Xiao Yan also turned his gaze back to the Grey Guardian. The majestic Do-Chi in his body trembled slightly, and a surging red Do-Chi turned out, roaring and rushing along the meridians like a flood, and finally poured out of the body, suddenly pulling his strength. Rise to the top. The huge Yuo Heng ancient ruler was removed from Xiao Yan's back. The Yuo Heng ancient ruler was wrapped in milky white fighting qi. The tyrannical fighting qi caused the space around the heavy ruler to fluctuate slightly. Xiao Yan raised his head and clenched the handle of the ruler with his palm. Tilted his head to Yueru and Lu Yin and said lightly, "Quick fight, don't be dragged on for too long." Yueru and Lu Yin also nodded slightly. The former's blue-colored fighting qi burst out from her body, and the dazzling blue light made her almost like a towering tree on the ground, extremely conspicuous. Seeing this, the latter also refused to admit defeat. He activated his entire body of fighting qi. Bursts of ice-blue fighting qi burst out from his body, and the small cold on his shoulders also exuded an astonishing chill. Xiao Yan, give me a few minutes. Lu Yin also looked at Xiao Yan, obviously planning something. She seemed to be feeling the fierce fighting spirit surging up behind her. Although she didn't know what Lu Yin wanted to do, since she could be called Heaven's Pride, she should have some skills. Xiao Yan also nodded at Lu Yin. The two in front of them are truly worthy of the Heaven's favored sons. Their strengths are indeed extraordinary. Immediately, the soles of their feet lifted slightly, and they landed with a bang. It was a milky white flame light and shadow, carrying the violent sound of oppressive wind, and shot at the icy guardian in front of him. The violent oppressive wind blew the gray clothes of the guardian in front of him tightly against the skin, but the guardian's face was fearless. He sneered, and a silver long skirt spear appeared out of thin air, and then the silver spear suddenly shook. The silver Do-Chi flashing with electric light was like small snakes, covering the spear body. The guardian clenched the handle of the spear with his right hand and shouted loudly. The spear turned into a silver light and shot at Xiao Yan's neck extremely fiercely. Ding ding ding! The huge gray figure suddenly stood upright, and the silver rays of light were straight on the mysterious ancient ruler. Cannot help shaking slightly. The fierce attack was blocked. The Grey Guardian's face did not change in the slightest, and his arm suddenly shook, with a silver gas-like electric light, rushing out along the silver spear, and finally turned into a few illusory silver spear shadows. Strange, he avoided the defense of Xiao Yan's Yuo Hengu ruler and stabbed Xiao Yan's head behind him. The terrifying silver fighter gun shadow with electric light made a chirp sound as it passed through the air. The attack power of thunder-type Do-Chi is quite impressive. Xiao Yan was on the Do-Chi continent, and he felt it when he was discussing with his second brother, Xiao Li, so naturally he would not despise them. A few roared like angry dragons. The silver gun shadow that came in rapidly enlarged in the pitch-black pupils. Xiao Yan's body was shocked, and the majestic milky white fighting qi burst out. In an instant, it solidified into a milky white energy wall in front of the three of them. The three of Xiao Yan were tightly wrapped in it, and the silver gun shadow ruthlessly exploded in front of the energy wall that Xiao Yan had condensed. Boom boom boom! The energy wall was instantly smashed by the silver gun shadow, making a harsh sound like glass shattering. Compared to Xiao Yan, he had long expected that the guardian in front of him had the dignified strength of the 3-star Do-D peak, and his energy defense wall obviously could not stop his attack, but Xiao Yan did not do that. The flame divides the wave ruler. Xiao Yan's hand slowly protruded the ancient ruler of strange fire. Suddenly, the terrifying milky white hot energy that surrounded him became more vigorous at this moment, and even the space around him was slightly distorted at this moment. A substantive madness of white flame energy suddenly erupted from Xiao Yan's body in Xiao Yan's soft shout, and then poured into the strange fire eternal ancient ruler in Xiao Yan's hand. And enter. With such a terrifying energy infusion, I can only see that the original black eternal fire eternal ruler has 23 strange colors, which makes people look extraordinarily strange, and the eternal fire eternal ancient ruler seems to be swirling around like 1,000 flames. Oh, this flame is a bit strange. The gray figure holding a silver spear in front of him also saw Xiao Yan's attack and couldn't help but say, I rarely meet people with such special flames, so I couldn't help but be a little interested in Xiao Yan in front of him. The white-clothed man on the stone steps turned his head and glanced at the flame and ruler on Xiao Yan's body, as if he had said something to the Grey Guardian in front of Xiao Yan. It was obvious that Xiao Yan's attack contained a terrifying power of flame, and even the Grey Guardian who was stronger than the one in front of him had the slightest interest in the power of flame on Xiao Yan's body. While the gray figure exclaimed in surprise, he also pumped his thunder attribute vindictive energy into the silver spear in his hand, and then savagely attacked the fighting skills launched by Xiao Yan's eternal fire eternal ancient ruler. Puff puff, the eternal fire eternal ruler exuding terrifying flame power and the silver spear surrounded by silver snakes collided viciously together. The terrifying fighting spirit radiated from the battlefield where Xiao Yan and the gray figure faced off. This Xiao Yan is really terrifying. The rest, who were dealing with their respective guardians, felt this attack from Xiao Yan, and could not help but frown slightly. Xiao Yan, who was in the early days of the 3-star Dou Emperor, could launch such a powerful attack. It was already very powerful, and the powerful one seemed to be the milky white flames on him. Everyone didn't dare to be linked to distracted www.novelmtl.com. Then they fought with their respective partners and dealt with the guardians. Just as the gun shadow silver snake dissipated, Xiao Yan abruptly took a step forward. A heavy ruler in his hand flew out horizontally. The huge force brought a sharp sonic boom that ripped through the air and smashed it hard at the guardian's head. The terrifying energy created by the swing of the heavy ruler. The corners of Deyuru's eyes couldn't help but jump. After seeing Xiao Yan's battles with her own eyes, she only knew how terrifying the latter's power was. On the soles of the Grey Guardian's feet, silver light suddenly poured out, and his body shook. Peefed! With a sound, the silver light flashed, and his figure actually flashed back nearly 5 or 6 meters. The speed was astonishingly fast. Okay, it's frozen. An excited voice came from behind Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan took a look and saw that it was Lu Yin who had been brewing something since just now. The moment Lu Yin spoke, there were also some ice blue ice cubes on the soles of the feet of the Grey Guardian who was confronting Xiao Yan. Obviously, this was due to Lu Yin's ice blue grudge. Xiaohan, come on. Lu Yin's words just fell, and her toes were a little bit, and her petite body was swept out, and finally landed on the icy blue Xiaohan. It is strange to say that Xiaohan, who was originally insignificant, actually swelled several times under Lu Yin's words, enough to hold 5 people standing. She stretched out her hand and pressed it on the back of the icy blue bird. Boo! In the eyes of the originally icy blue bird, it seemed that the light of spirituality passed through it at this time, fluttering its wings and flapping its wings. The ice feathers are incomparably sharp and extremely cold. Swish swish. Let's go!